Welcome, this is Jim, host of the Faith Influencer Podcast, where we're going to dive into discussions on faith's role in everyday life, from navigating blended families to overcoming challenges. I'm a husband, a father, a Bible teacher, an advocate for applying faith to everyday life. So tune in as I share personal stories, valuable insights, and practical wisdom. Welcome back to Faith Influencer Podcast. I'm so excited for today because I promised you that if I did a podcast on the 5 things men wish women knew, that I would reciprocate, and the next one would be what? The 5 things women wish men knew. That's our podcast today. I'm very excited about that. I want to tell you how I came to these 5 things. I didn't sit down and try to come up in my mind what women wish their men knew about women. I am not qualified to do that, even though in years of counseling, I probably could have picked out many of these. Some of them were what I thought maybe women would say. Some of them surprised me. So I sent out a survey, and many women responded in the survey. And that's what I'm giving you. I'm giving you the response to the survey on the things that women wish men knew. So here's what you're going to hear. You're not going to hear my opinion. This isn't a man's opinion. Ladies, it's your turn. We did it last time. Men gave their opinions. That's the podcast that's recently come out. But this time, it's your opinion. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk through and give you those top 5 things. Just so you know, number 4 in the list is the number 1 response that I got over the survey. Number 4, overwhelmingly, is what women said. We'll get to that one when we get to it. So some of the answers were fascinating. As I said, some surprised me. A few challenged me. And I like that. Several women, many essentially said the same thing. And then there was one that my wife gave me that moved me. And so I will get to that one. That's going to be a part of number 4 as well. So these are the answers I heard, and I'm going to be very excited to hear your response to these. And as a matter of fact, you probably are going to come up with a few that I don't have on my list. So put them in the comments and let everybody see what they are. So men, this is for you. Men, we need to listen. This is what your wives, many of them, your wives are responding to this question, what women wish men knew. So we're going to listen. We're not giving our opinion. This is our turn to hear you. So let's walk through the 5. Number 1, and this is probably the one I would have guessed easily, but yet it came in on the list as the top 5, so let's cover it. The first thing that women said they wish men knew was that sometimes she just wants you to hear her, not fix it. That was one that I expected. And as a matter of fact, if you listen to the previous podcast, I actually addressed that one for men. I told the women why men do that. But I'm not even going to go into that today because we had our turn. This is your turn, women. So sometimes women aren't asking you to protect them. They're not asking you to fix it. So let's talk about it today. Sometimes women are telling you, men, that we often want to feel heard. We often want to talk and you listen, and we don't want a solution. That's what women said in this survey. They don't want a solution. That's something that we, to be honest, as men miss sometimes. She starts telling us something at work. She starts telling us an issue, a frustration, and truth be known, she's about 3 sentences in, and men are already thinking how they're going to fix this. And unfortunately, the majority of men, at least a lot of them I know, aren't even going to let her get out 3 sentences before they interrupt her with how she can solve this problem. Now, true or not, guys, we are guilty of that. But someone said this, and this is so true. Men, when our wives are talking to us and they're sharing their heart, they're not giving you an assignment. They're not asking you to write something down and come up with a solution and give them points 1, 2, and 3. They're not giving you an assignment. She's inviting you into what she's experiencing, her emotions, her feelings, how she's hurt. She wants you to understand why she's hurt. She wants you to understand why she's angry, or why she's feeling overwhelmed, or why she's worried. And what do? What our wives are asking us to do is listen. Listen. Now, you are one of those who need to ask questions. Okay, ask good questions then. Ask questions like that, like this. Ask questions like, really, what happened next? Or ask another question like this. Well, when they said that, what did you say? Keep the conversation going. You understand what I'm saying? Don't interrupt it and take it a different direction with your problem solving. Keep the conversation going. You might even ask, well, then how did that make you feel? The point is that when asking the right questions, she knows that you're listening and you're involved in what she is saying. So what do you think about this question? I was reading from a particular gentleman, and he said, this is the greatest question of all when your wife is talking to you. This is the greatest question to ask. And this is what he said. I want to read it to you. He said, when she finishes talking, don't interrupt her. When she finishes talking, ask this question. Do you want me to help you to figure this out, or do you need me just to listen? So you clarify. Maybe after she's finished, she might say, yeah, I'd love to have your insight on this. I'd love to have your opinion. Or she may say, no, there's really nothing I'm trying to solve. I just need to talk to you. But by asking that clarifying question, you don't head off and trying to fix it. So sometimes just being there and listening is helping. That's number one. All right, here we go. We're working our way down. Number 2, this is the other one that I would have guessed. The ones that follow, not so much, but this one is another one that I would have guessed, just like number 1. The second thing that women said, what they wish their men knew, was emotional connection isn't separate from intimacy. Now, God made us different, but it doesn't mean we have to be dumb. Sometimes in this area, guys are dumb. That's what wives are saying. Sometimes they don't understand that I need an emotional connection, women say, to have intimacy. Well, guys like to itemize everything, and nothing's connected in guys' minds, where women, someone said their brains are more like spaghetti and men's are more like waffles. We categorize everything in different areas, and they don't touch each other. They're unrelated. But what our wives are telling us is they're not unrelated. And for you to try to expect me to enter into the world of intimacy without having an emotional connection doesn't work. She might do it. She might say to you, I'll do it. But in her heart, apart from the emotional connection, just the physical act is not how God made her. So men, I think sometimes we separate the two of them way more easily than a woman could. So some say you men are like this. You can have an argument at breakfast, and by the way, it is true. You can have an argument at breakfast with your wife, then you go to work, then you go to home, then you eat dinner, and then you watch television, and then you climb into bed and expect sex. So what wives are saying is that doesn't work for women who are way more emotional and need that connection. So guys are so funny in this area. I know after years of counseling, it's so true that a guy will say something nice to his wife as they're going to bed, thinking, there's your emotional connection. How you doing? And the wife is rolling her eyes as she listens to you try to all of a sudden be sweet because you want intimacy. As a matter of fact, a lot of wives are thinking to themselves, have you lost your mind? They may not tell you that, but some of them are thinking that. So for many women, intimacy doesn't suddenly begin when you climb into bed, is all they're saying. It starts hours earlier. Did you kiss her goodbye? Did you text her during the day? Did you ask about how her day went? Now, I'm going to laugh here and say, this is what the majority of women say. Not all women say this, and I'm going to just, because my wife will listen to this, I'm going to say she will be one of them who will say to you, I didn't send that in. She's going to be one saying, I don't need all of that stuff. So she maybe will feel a little differently about, but some women, but the majority of women want you to do more of that. Did you touch her shoulder or hug her or something that did not expect to end up in sex, just being close? Did she feel important? And it's not the idea where a wife feels like that you want to give her some sort of support so she'll have sex. That's really what so many are saying. As a matter of fact, here's a term, not my term, but here's a term that some women said. One woman said, she said that my husband is transactional. And this is how she described it. She described it that he will show me some sort of emotional connection so that it will end up in sex. And she called it a transactional act of service. He's doing it for a different reason. We're not talking about that. We're talking about connection. So for many women, intimacy doesn't begin in the bedroom. It begins by having a connection throughout the day. She doesn't only want your body. She wants access to you. That's number 2. All right, we're moving right along. Here's number 3. By the way, I'm curious, guys, how you feel about this one. So some guys, I'm going to say the majority of guys are really guilty of number 2. Let me know in the comments. Here's number 3. This one totally surprised me. I didn't see this one coming. It would have not been on the list, but I think it's really good. Let me read how one lady put it, then I'll describe it. She said, and this is number 3, she said, confidence is attractive, but insecurity, pretending to be confident, isn't attractive. So I had to think about that for a little bit. She went on and she used this term, and I don't like this term, but I'm going to give you the term. She went on to say, she used the phrase toxic masculinity. That was her phrase. I wouldn't even use that phrase. I don't like that phrase. I think when you throw out a phrase like that, then everybody's trying to come up with the definition of what that phrase actually means. And it brings up so many false ideas. But I want to take what she said and tell you what I think she was meaning by using that. I think what she was saying is confidence is attractive, but there's a better way to be confident than overcompensate. Now, I see this. There's a big difference between strength and domination. There are some men who feel like to give the portrayal of strength, then they have to dominate their wife. When we read in Scripture about the roles of the husband and wife, there's no place in Scripture that says a man is to dominate his wife. There's a big difference between being a leader and being a leader who constantly needs everyone to know he's the leader. What do you call that person? I'm going to call him insecure. There's a difference between being secure in your masculinity and needing to prove your masculinity. I see guys all the time trying to prove their masculinity. And as a matter of fact, a lot of times it's almost laughable as they're trying to prove that they're masculine. A secure man doesn't need his wife to become smaller so that he can become bigger. Did you catch that, guys? A secure man doesn't need his wife to be smaller so he can be bigger. Her success isn't threatening to him. Most of you, if not every single person who responded to this survey represents a working woman. I didn't have any respond to the survey who's a stay-at-home mom, and I love stay-at-home moms and appreciate stay-at-home moms, and that's a different subject than all the people who responded on this survey. Her success doesn't threaten him. Her intelligence doesn't threaten him. And sometimes she may have a better idea. And if she has a better idea, then great. So here's something else that women said along with this. She said, as a matter of fact, instead of the man overcompensating, trying to show me he's confident, she said, there is something confident that falls in this category, and it's his own humility. He doesn't have to prove that he is such and such man. So some guys think that there are certain things that make them look weak. That's one of the things I can remember as a young Bible teacher years ago, that I tried to portray that Jesus was the strongest man, and one man challenged me on that. And he said, how could Jesus, this is literally the confrontation that he and I had in the middle of a Bible study. He said, how could Jesus be so strong when the Bible says he was so meek? I said, well, you don't understand the definition of meekness, because meekness is not weakness. Meekness is power under control. That's what meekness is. And Jesus was the meekest man who ever lived. He, at the same time, was the most powerful man who ever lived, but he had power under control. So that's what a strong man is. That's not the guy who has to overcompensate. You know, it's okay, men, to say I was wrong. Lord knows I've had to say it many times. It's okay, men, to say, I'm sorry. It's okay to say, I don't know. It's okay to say, you're right. It's okay to say, I need some help. So that doesn't take away from your strength when you say those things. Meekness is not a bad quality. As a matter of fact, I'm going to say to you that it takes a secure man to say those things, not a weak man. One woman specifically told me that seeing genuine humility in her husband was even more attractive to her. So real confidence is, here's what I'm saying. Real confidence doesn't have to announce itself. All right, we've made it to number 4. This is the most answered from all of the women who respond. I'm going to say 99% gave this answer, okay? And here it is. Women wish their men knew that you probably don't see everything that she's carrying. You probably don't see everything she's carrying. This is the one, more than any, that women want you to know. Now, this is not a dig at you. As a matter of fact, when I was reading this to my wife, I was sitting at the kitchen table with my 16-year-old son, and we're sitting at the table, and I'm walking through this, and I did it on purpose at dinner time because I wanted him to be a part of it, and I wanted him to hear it. And watching his face as I walked through this was worth that whole thing. So I got to the part where I gave this one, women wish men knew what they were carrying. This big smile came over his face, and I could tell exactly what he was thinking. He's thinking, you asked the wrong question, boy. She's getting ready to tell you. I knew what he was thinking, and I started laughing, which isn't how it turned out, by the way, but that's what he thought was going to happen. Men hate to bring this subject up because you're afraid that she's going to have this whole list of stuff that she's asking you to do. Well, no, it's not just about that, guys. Let's just listen. Let me just give it to you. She wants you to know she's carrying more than you know, and here's what she's saying. Let me quote one of the ladies in the survey. She said, at any given time, I have 20 plus boxes open in my head. 20 boxes open in my head at any given time. She's talking about I have 20 different things I'm thinking about at any given time. 20 tabs that are running simultaneously. Kids' doctor's appointments, groceries, meal planning, vacation, school calendar, birthday gifts, teachers' gifts, sports, haircuts, vet appointments, prescriptions, the laundry, who needs to be picked up, where does someone need to be tomorrow, what's happening this weekend. And she's sitting with you on the couch and she's watching Netflix. And she said, the whole time, all of these boxes are open. It's that invisible mental load. She wants you to know that's there. And many women, on top of that, are carrying an entire professional workload outside of the house, right along with all of the things I just mentioned inside of the house. That is a huge load. One woman pointed this out. I'm going to read it to you because I thought it was probably pretty accurate. It's somewhat accurate in my own household. I had to laugh when she said this. She said, think about it this way. When the school calls, they call mom. When the doctor calls, he calls mom. When the pharmacy calls mom. The coach even calls mom. And dad gets the call only when mom doesn't answer fast enough. Well, I had to laugh when I heard that, but there's certainly truth to all of that. I see that oftentimes in my house, and sometimes my wife will tell me something going on. I'm like, well, why didn't I know about that? She said, well, they didn't call you. They called me. So here's something that I thought was very good that one woman said. She said, when I'm tired and ask for an assist, it's genuinely because I need the help, not because I'm just incapable or lazy. Men, don't mistake I need your help for I just can't handle this. She may have been handling it for a long time, probably has. And this is where all of the wives say that an unprompted effort on my man's part matters a lot. Matters a lot. You know what she means by that? When you see stuff, and I don't have to ask you always to do this or need help here or here, you see it before I even have to ask you. So another woman said, we value and greatly appreciate effort, especially when unprompted, even as much sometimes as protection. So there's a big difference between tell me what you need me to do, men, and seeing what she needs done and doing it. Big difference. I got to say it again. Big difference in her and you saying to her, tell me what needs to be done versus you just seeing what needs to be done and doing it. Because think about this. If she has to notice the problem, decide what needs to happen, ask you to do it, then remind you to do it, and then check whether you got it done or not, and then you completed the task, guess what? In the end, she still had to manage it. She still had to oversee the task. She couldn't check it off her list or close that box because she had to stay after us over and over about it. So sometimes the most loving thing that a man can do is see it, own it, and handle it. And all the women said, amen. But there's another side to this. My wife added something else that I wanted to give you, and it really touched me because of the season we're in right now. And I told her, I said, in 1,000 years, that would not have crossed my mind, but it's so right. You are so right. I told her, I'm going to add this. I'm not going to add it as a sixth one. I'm just going to put it as a part of this one. This is what she said. She said, she said, I'm maybe different than most of these other responses, but she said, here's something I would add. I wish men understood that a mother's attachment and bond to her children can feel different than that of a dad. I thought, wow, that's really good. I said, it's really true. The reason why is because this weekend we took our son to college. All over people are commenting right now how difficult it was to drop their child off at college. So we're watching, even where I work, we're watching families and friends right now talking about the emotional side, especially of the wife of the mother, of dropping their child off to college. Dads think this way, not always. I'm not saying dads don't feel the emotional side of it. They do, but not the same. Dads think this way. Oh, this is, drop your kid off to college. This is fantastic. We did it. He did it. She did it. They're ready. Go build your life. That's how dads think. I had a dad literally today say to me this morning that dropping my kid off to college is like, I can't wait for you to go now and experience this season of your life. But that's not how mom's thinking. Mom sees it a little differently. My wife said, I wish men knew that mom sees that a little differently. I said, explain that to me, because I felt it, but I said, explain it to me. She said, simultaneously, she may be experiencing the excitement of a new season in your child's life. But she said at the same time, it feels like grief. She said the sadness of it, women feel, and men don't feel it quite the same. So for a woman, for a mom, she said she's watching her child leave the house, a role that she has lived every single day for nearly 20 years is changing overnight. And it made me think about something. Think about it this way, guys. This will help us understand. We've talked for years about men coming to the end of the journey in their work life and retiring. I work in that arena. And when men retire, statistics show that they struggle greatly. Do you know why? Because their work was so much of their identity that when they retired, they lost who they were. And then they retire, and now what do I do? Who am I if I'm not doing that anymore? And so maybe some women experience something very similar when their children leave home. She's still their mother. Of course, she's still their mother, but she's not packing their lunches. She's not waiting for them to get home. She's not driving them somewhere. She can't hear them upstairs. Nobody needs her tomorrow morning quite the same way. So men, don't rush her through that grief just because you experienced the transition a little differently. And here's the paradox that really struck me. For years, she may have said, I'm exhausted from everybody needing me. She may have said, this is so tiring, all the stuff that I had to remember with the kids. And then one day, everybody stops needing her in quite the same way, and she discovers that hurts too. And number 5, here's the last one. I love this one. I want this so much for every family that I work with. This wife said that all those other things, here's something else that women wish men knew. The man you are becoming matters to her. The man you are becoming matters to her. I saved this one for last because I think it goes into a little deeper communication that I want to describe to you or express to you. When one of the women who responded gave this answer, it literally stopped me because this is so much a part of my heart and what I do and my desire to disciple men. She said, what it does to me to see my husband's prayer life, or to see his spiritual leadership, or to see him take the lead in spiritual things with their family, or to see his humility. She said, these qualities I want my husband to know are so attractive to me, to see the man he's becoming. I love that. I love when I see men that I'm working with growing. I love it when their temper is not so short any longer. They're becoming stronger in their Christian walk. I love seeing that. So when she said that, I thought to myself, that is one of my greatest desires when working with men. So we spend such an enormous amount of time on focusing on what we accomplish, what we're earning, what we're building, what we're providing, what title we have at work, how successful we've become. And there's nothing wrong with any of these things, in my opinion. None of these are necessarily bad at all. And your wife appreciates all of that. And if she does it, she should. All of those things are important. But your wife may also be watching something completely different. And I want you to know it, and they want you to know it. She's watching the man you're becoming. She's watching the man you're becoming. The person you were 5 years ago to who you are today. I love it that a woman can use that as a flex, that her man is growing. He's more patient. He can even apologize. He could say, I'm sorry if he needed to. He can forgive. He can be emotionally available if I need him to be. He can be a great listener. He's pursuing God. Boy, I want that for men so much. All of you men who are listening, including myself, pursuing God. I want my wife to see me as that man. I want her to see me as the man who pursues God. Guys, do you know what to do if you took your hand by the wife and you took your wife by the hand and prayed with her? Just prayed with her. I don't even know how she would express it, but inside she'd feel it. It would matter to her. So let's make sure, men, that we understand that the spiritual side is just as important as every other side. Spiritual leadership. That's the model that Jesus gave us. And by the way, when Jesus gave us spiritual leadership, Jesus said, learn to be a servant of all. That was his model of leadership. Learn to be a servant. I'll go first. I'll go first in serving. I'll go first in apologizing. I'll go first in forgiving. I'll go first in sacrificing. I'll go first in praying. I'll go first in pursuing God. So, men, these are the questions that women were asking. I need my man to know this. Am I being the man that she needs? That's what she wants you to be. These are the top 5. These are the things that she is mentioning. Are you surprised by any of them? Any of them catch you off guard? Any of these convicting at all? Remember last time we handled it for men. This time, this is what women are saying. So, guys, there it is. That's what they're saying. And ladies, whatever I've missed, put it in the comments. And as always, thank you so much for jumping on our podcast, Faith Influencer. Catch you next time.